Hey, what's up, friends? My name is Maggie Littlefield. We are here live at Iron Tech, and we are kicking off our YP Week with the Rising Professionals at our ToolBox lunch today called Navigating Career Decisions. We're really excited. We've got probably about 30 people here so far, and we've got three incredible speakers today. We've got Lori Luther, who is the city manager of Beloit. We've got Jeff Joutras, who is with QPS Employment, and Brian Lawton, who is the CEO of Realty Revival. So we are very excited. We're just going to have a conversation with them about navigating career decisions, really learning about what made them successful, mistakes that they learned from, and of any tools that they want to give to us as younger professionals to succeed in our career. So we're excited to have you. Be sure to comment, say hello, tuning in from, and comment with your questions as we get started here, and we will begin in just a few minutes.
That was great.
have to engage with me because my nerves are high. Like, let's have a conversation. Let's be here. Let's be present. Thank you so much for joining us for the third event of our YP Week series. We're super excited to have you all here. We kicked off YP Week yesterday morning at Bagels and More with some coffee and free bagels for folks before work. And then this morning at 6 a.m. we were at State Line Family YMCA for some 6 a.m. yoga. I learned that there are some people who are built for that. I am not one of them. My name is Sim, and I serve as the Health and Wellness Coordinator for Beloit College, but I also have the esteemed honor of serving as the Chair for the Rising Professionals of Beloit. Our mission as the Rising Professionals is to engage, empower, and connect young professionals in the Beloit region through social, community development, professional development, and community engagement opportunities. We hope to serve as a catalyst in promoting the city as a place where young professionals can live, work, and play, and hopefully contributing to the retention efforts of young professionals in the city. On behalf of the executive team, this is the first time that Beloit as the city is hosting YP Week, and so on behalf of the team, I just want to thank you all for being here and making this week a success, even though it's only day 2, because we have overshot our estimates for attendance. So it's really exciting to see you all here. I hope you know how excited we all are. You just kind of feel that energy from us. Special thank you to our sponsors, without whom it would not have been possible. Carrie, Visit Beloit, Hendricks Commercial Properties, Associated Bank, Travel Insurance, State Line Family YMCA, Beloit Chamber of Commerce, Egos Films, and Live Action Production, who is currently live streaming this event for us on Facebook. So thank you for those who are joining us online. Super excited to have you all here. Yes, wait, they're here. YP Week, for those who may not know, we've been saying YP Week, what is it? It's a week. But a week of a platform for discovery, adventure, and meaningful conversations on issues that matter most to young professionals. This year, the YP Week is supported by the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, through whom YP Week has been able to expand to 29 cities all over the state of Wisconsin. So we have over 29 communities participating, over 60 different organizations hosting events in their local communities, and then over 200 events planned throughout the state over the course of this week. So all of the communities are leveraging the theme Make Happen as part of their engagement efforts. So right now, as we speak, all over the state of Wisconsin, there are young professionals who are gathering, learning, and engaging, and growing together in an effort to make our home state a better place for young professionals in Beloit. So I'd like you all to give a round of applause for being a part of this movement and all that is happening throughout the state of Wisconsin. I'm almost done talking. A couple of housekeeping announcements from me. If you escaped our registration table, please make your way back to check in. We'd like to be able to track our numbers. Feel free to get up and replenish your plates and your drinks. We have a lot of food in the back. We don't want to take it home, so please get more. Take it to your office afterwards. Share it with people. Again, this event is being live streamed, so you can silence your phones. That would be tremendously awesome. Restrooms are over here in the back. So basic plan for today's conversation, I will soon shut up in a moment to let the panelists introduce themselves. And then we'll have 20 minutes of some stock questions that they were given, and they will have an opportunity to answer those. And then we will turn it over to you all for your questions. You all, most of you were given a handout, so feel free at the back of that to jot down your questions. I know I hate being in conversations where you have a question, but the conversation is not over, so you're trying to remember your question, but you're not actively listening anymore. So write down your question so you don't forget. That way, come Q&A, you remember your question. And for those of us joining us online, you can feel free to jot down your questions in the comment section. And we have a couple folks who are monitoring that, and we'll be sure to chime in your question as we get to the Q&A portion. Sound good with everybody? All right, I'm done. Panelists, how are you doing?
Doing great.
Fantastic. So if you want to take a moment to just introduce yourselves, share who you are, what you do, some successes of your career, but then also answer the question, what is the best career decision you have made? Loaded question, I know. A lot of great moves you made, but pick one.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
First of all, Namunga, thank you for having us. YP Week is exciting. It's exciting that it's in Rock County, which is where I live and grew up, and so this is great. Thanks to Aaron at Iron Tech for even reaching out. So I'm pretty honored to even be asked to be here. I'm the CEO of Property Revival Realty, but really I'm just an entrepreneur at heart, and so I do some other things as well. The best career decision I think that I ever made was just betting on myself and leaping into the adventure of entrepreneurship and having to rely on myself and my whatever dream or vision I have of that, to just grind on that every day. It's exciting. So that would be, I think, my favorite.
I'm Joutras. I'm one of the regional vice presidents for
agency that helps employers and helps candidates find meaningful work. I'm also pleased to be here as part of Young Professionals Week. I actually consider myself a young professional, even though I might be the oldest one here. I think it's a state of mind for sure, for sure. So basically, in my role, I work with our sales team, our operations team to help companies meet their staffing needs and their hiring requirements. So it's a pleasure to be here and to be with you all. As far as the best decision I've made, probably the last one, I would say, when I completely changed careers and went into the staffing world about 7 years ago. You'll hear maybe a little more about that later on. It's just taking a risk, and that's what I did. I left a career in an environment that was very comfortable in, that I had a certain amount of stature and position in, and started over. So that would be my answer.
And I'm Lori Curtis Luther. I'm the Beloit City Manager. So thank you also for the invitation to come today. I've been in public employment for over 20 years. The closer it gets to 25, the more I want to say close to 20, because I recognize that says something about myself. In any case, not that that's a problem. I have a degree in political science and Spanish and a master's degree in public administration. So been here for 3 years, and I would have to say also the best decision that I've made in my career was applying for this city manager position. I was previously working in Illinois for a bit, and it's just been the best move for me professionally and personally as well.
Perfect. So you all have made fair share of decisions in life. So when you're making a career decision, be it big, be it small, what are the most important things that you consider or weigh in?
I'll take that one. I think, first of all, that's a very personal decision. I think, for me, when I make those decisions, is the decision aligned with what I value, right? So if I'm going to make this decision and go from here to there, is it aligned with my personal value? Is it something that I see myself succeeding in moving forward? Is it something I can wholeheartedly support, move forward in my career with my fellow employees? So, I think alignment is really a huge thing for me. I think sometimes we make decisions, we do things that maybe aren't totally aligned with our values and our core. And you have to really define that for yourselves. A lot of times when I interview candidates for positions, I will ask them, what are your must-haves? What do you have to have? So I think that's really an important thing for me, is to decide that for yourself. What do you stand for? What do you believe in? What are those must-haves? And that's kind of like the core of what I try to use when I make a decision.
Yeah, I would say personally when I am looking at a big decision, I want to make sure my feet are kind of on the ground per se, so that I have sort of recalibrated whatever those things are in life that keep me back to my core values. For me personally, that would be, seeing my folks for breakfast, once a week, making sure I'm up early, working out, being healthy, making good life decisions so my mind is right. And I think that's, sometimes we're out of routine when we're looking through change or staring change in the face. And the other side of that is, because we do hire a lot of people, not as many as you, but I do see, when people are, or observe when people are going through change like that or looking to, that sometimes the mindset is a little bit off, and to just make sure in those moments you're surrounding yourself with 100% positivity in the, on your phone, whatever you're taking in, whatever you're absorbing from your social feeds, deleting the news app for a few weeks so you don't have to read all those headlines. The podcasts you're listening to, the people you're surrounding yourself with in your inner circle, that it's nothing but positive noise so that your mindset is right and you can make a good decision.
So I'm going to attack this from a little bit of a different angle. In my career, I've worked in 8 different cities and counties. I've worked in Kansas, Missouri, Wisconsin, and Illinois, and back to Wisconsin again. So we've done a fair amount of moving, and I also happen to have 4 children, ranging in ages from 5 to 17. So for me, making decisions throughout my career have been about what's right for me professionally and what's right for my family as well. And having the courage to make those moves in order to have the career advancement, and also to think about what's possible. So that has been a big factor over the course of my career. So I think as we look at the likelihood of young professionals shifting not just from job to job, but complete career sectors, having a willingness to be adaptable and flexible and moving outside your comfort zone for me has been really essential.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So some of your answers to this question that relates to the next one. There may be times where we may find ourselves in a position to offer a promotion. So the question is, what factors should you consider when taking a promotion, and when would a case be where you shouldn't or would not consider taking a promotion?
So I'll tackle that one first, and I'm going to make a bold statement. I think you should always consider the promotion. There may be circumstances, and I'm sure my colleagues can come up with really good reasons for why you might not be able to, but I think women in particular, because data demonstrates this, women are less likely to pursue a promotion or to accept a promotion unless they feel 100% ready. I think the study was showing if there are 10 criteria that are required for a particular position, women feel, on average, that you need to have all 10 nailed, ready to go, completely proficient. And our male counterparts, on average, feel a need to have about 5 of them. And then the rest they're going to learn on the job. And they're very successful with it. So I think that it's really important for all of us, especially young professionals, to think about not just what do I know now, but what do I have the capacity to learn. And to be honest about that, certainly not to pursue or accept a position that you truly are not qualified for, but to keep your options open and to really reflect on, am I able to learn that on the job? Can I do that? And I think more likely than not, the answer is yes. And so I would really encourage you to put yourself out there and to be open to those new opportunities and to not overly limit yourself.
I would piggyback a little bit with Laura. We came through a hiring round at the turn of the year here, and it always strikes me, and I'm sure with both of you, that we hire people, we hire personalities, we hire relationships. We don't hire the skill set necessarily. And I think that's sort of what you're saying,
Right.
which is like, you're probably ready. You just need to, you can learn whatever it is if it's the right fit. But to specifically answer the question, the when not to take it, 100% of the time, never, ever, ever should it be about money in my head. That should never be the reason that you would take that leap. Other than that, I think it gets back to something that Jeff was talking about earlier, which is perspective and self-awareness. Being self-aware in your capacity to do things and in your goals and vision of how you want your life to work out is so critical when you're going through that. So I would say that.
Yeah, I would support what have said. Maybe just with a little bit of a twist. I think if you're being looked at for a promotion, obviously there's a pretty valid reason for that, right? Your supervisor, your boss, whatever, feels like you do have the skill sets, you do have the ability. But one thing that I again would just say is this path? If you do go down this path, is that aligned with where you want to go professionally? I mean, you may have maybe a department that wants you to move into this department, and you have actually no interest in it. You don't feel like you would be a good fit or whatever. So I think you do need to think about that a little bit. Obviously, you probably have the skill sets, or otherwise your company wouldn't be looking to you to do this. I think some other things based on your value set. If you take this position, are you going to be away from home, doing a lot of extra travel and things like that, and family is super important to you. So, just a couple of little caveats. In most cases, probably should definitely, absolutely always consider it. But I would definitely weigh the pros and cons of taking the position. Is it aligned with where you want to go professionally? Is it aligned with what your home life? Are you going to be able to have a work-life balance? All of those kinds of things.
Perfect. Thank you. So can you all speak to barriers that you've had to overcome in your workplace? You've had successful careers, otherwise you would not be here. But I imagine there are a fair share of challenges that you have to overcome. So could you elaborate on that?
Go ahead.
I would call myself lucky. I hit the parent lottery. I've had a good life growing up. So there are significant work barriers that people face that I've never had to clear. That being said, I mean, I do, like this for me, this is not comfortable usually. The level of anxiety that I've had throughout my life from a small kid all the way till now should be heavily medicated, but I internalized so much of that, and I've just, Jeff and I were talking at lunch, like, you just learn to say yes to things, and to challenge yourself to move forward. What I would say about workplace barriers, and it's maybe a little bit cold, but is just and what about that? There are barriers, and all of us face different ones, whether they're internal struggles or real, like, realities about America and how our job systems are set up. But you got to navigate through it, around it, over it. So barrier, and now what? You know, so what are you going to do about it? And we have to find solutions to big issues, but, you know, for me, my puny issues like that of anxiety and being an introvert by nature, you just got to, and now what about it, and move forward.
So I've got a great example. I've actually been asked by a, I use quotations, professional recruiter, if I was planning on having any more kids anytime soon. And I got that job. And I got the job by responding by saying, I'm not going to be making any decisions that are going to lessen my capacity to work, period. Now, should I have been asked the question? Absolutely not. Were any of my male counterparts that were interviewing for the job asked the question, how are you going to balance your family and your work? I routinely get asked that question, and you know, my colleagues typically do not. So I think the biggest shock to me was that some of that bias is still out there. I mean, I think I was really naive entering the workforce because I've been raised to believe that I could do and be anything I wanted to be, and that the norm in my life was that everyone was treated that way. And so it was a naive, you know, approach. And when I realized that there are individuals in the world that are going to have bias and that are going to have you know, issues of their own that are going to impact the ability to get a job, I think I was a little shocked. But at the same time, you can take that situation and say, and what's my response to it? And go ahead and accept those positions, because it wasn't my boss asking or future boss asking the question. It was a middle person, right? Somebody I had to get past and through in order to get in front of the group that I needed to. So just be cognizant that some of that is still going on, unfortunately. Be prepared and have a ready response and get through that so that you can go ahead and, if you wish, accept the position, or decide that it's not going to be the right fit and go somewhere where you'll be valued.
I think, you know, for me, when I read this question, you know, I had to really think about it because maybe similar to Brian, you know, I've worked hard in different roles, I've been promoted within various companies, but I'm sure that there were barriers that I had to overcome. Some of it might have been my own self-doubt, maybe my own, maybe perceived lack of self-confidence, or maybe I'm not ready to do a specific role. More of the barriers I would say that I've had to overcome have just been the corporate or family-run bureaucracy of some organizations that I've worked with. And I think we all probably have to deal with those no matter what, whether the company you work with is a corporation or it's a family-run company. And I think part of what I tried to do when I worked in those companies, and even today, is to be part to figure out what the solution is for myself and how to navigate that as best I can. And if I really felt like it was weighing down on me, to have a candid conversation with my team, my support team, my direct report, my boss, my manager, the ownership even. And I really feel like sometimes if you can have that candid conversation, then you can find a path that will lead you down the right way, rather than just trying to overcome it. Maybe by yourself. Maybe you need some other support to help overcome that barrier. Seek out for some help. So I think for me, it's just been more navigating the corporate world and some of the idiosyncrasies that come with running a family business, because several of the companies I work with were family-run. That creates a lot of great opportunities there, but also its own set of challenges as well.
Sure.
touching on something that you had brought up, Brian. So talking about wellness, and I know as a young professional, you kind of feel this pressure because I'm new in my career. I'm still trying to make a case for myself to just keep going and keep going and keep going at the expense of one's health and wellness. So from you guys' experience, what has that process been like of where you do want to be successful in your career, but you also have to be mindful of your health?
Yeah, thanks for the follow-up. I would say that if you are not right, if I'm not right, my kids aren't going to be right, the company I lead won't be right, so you have to get right. For me personally, and it's a journey, I'm not perfect at this. For me, you schedule time, and me, it's the morning if I don't get it done in the morning. So I'm usually up at 4 or 4:30, somewhere in there. In an ideal day, it's...
Good for you. Yeah, no.
Have at
It's not
it.
easy. I don't like it.
No, it's a smart thing to do.
I don't know about that. No, but it's you know, sweating every day. If ideally meditate 10 to 20 minutes just to get my mind right in the morning. Journaling on a perfect day, just being, monitoring the things that we're grateful for in the morning and evening, stacking those gratitude pieces day by day, reflecting back on gratitude, not losses, because failure is a thing. If you're going to succeed, you just got to do that. So, and eating, right, and just that mind-body balance relates to your career path. That being said, I also work, when I first started, in real estate specifically, I'm like, this is great. Realtors work like 4 to 6 hours a week and make all kinds of money, and so that's the life I dove into and quickly failed. And now it's 10 to 14 hours or more a day easily, probably 12 on average. And so I don't binge watch TV. There's things you knock out because we have time. And so, getting to bed early at 9 or 9:30 or 10, and sometimes not, you just got to cut all the noise out and be dialed into what is going to move you to what life you want. And I think that mind and body relate to that, and it's got to be number one.
I liken it to the instructions on an airplane. Put the oxygen mask on first before you assist the person next to you. A wise person shared that with me. I'm not going to pretend that I do it well, because it's a struggle. And I think it's hard to put yourself first, at least for me, and not feel guilty about that. But some of the best advice I received from a colleague was that I don't have to be marathon ready right now. My kids are at a place in their lives where their activities and their schedules are really hectic, and my work hours are also very hectic. And it's okay to forgive yourself a little bit for not being at that point in your life. So I think that was really helpful, because I kept thinking, gosh, at this point I was able to work out every day, and I was running and all these things. It's really important to make time for yourself, whatever that looks like. But it's also okay if you're in a place, you shouldn't feel guilty over what you're not doing. I don't think that helps you at all. It doesn't help motivate me to get up and want to do a little bit more. So, I think that's important to have that perspective. But certainly, you have to find a way, somehow, every day, to take a moment for yourself. I have to remember to breathe. Literally stop the chaos and the rush and the mayhem and just take a moment. And that meditation piece, I think, is huge and really easy. And they've, honest to God, got apps for that. My 9-year-old has an app for that, and he showed me, and it's actually very effective. So, use those things and do the best you can, and recognize that where you are truly on the journey, it's going to look different at each stage of your career, at each stage of your family life, each stage of your professional life. And it doesn't always have to be the same, and that's okay.
So this is what it looks like when you get towards the end of your career. I'm joking.
Is this new?
I guess the one thing I would say when it comes to balance and mindfulness and your health is, be easy on yourself. You know, don't be too critical of yourself. You know, certainly there's a lot of times we think about the physical aspects, working out and doing whatever you can do, but there's also a mental aspect as well. And I think whether that's, you know, whether you're a spiritual person in prayer, or you're just reflecting on the things that happened during the day. Jackie, my colleague, and I, we talk about what was our win for the day. And maybe it was one little thing that you felt good about. How did you win today? You know, and maybe that's a personal thing, maybe that's a business thing. But I really feel like, in addition to the physical aspects, certainly your mind, you know, trumps all. I would just encourage you to be kind to yourself, be easy with yourself. And the other thing, when it comes to a lot of these things, we're not talking about necessarily, I've spent a lot of time in gyms. It may not look like it, but I've spent a lot of time in gyms over my lifetime. I've lifted a lot of weights, done a lot of things like that. But there's so many things out there now. There's the 6-minute abs, there's the 4-minute this, there's the 2-minute that. You can do you can just do one little thing to get started, or to even do something that doesn't take a lot of time physically. You can do that same thing for yourself mentally as well. So I would just try to do something, you know, whatever that is for yourself.
So there may be people who are in positions that are no longer serving them, and they're, you know, trying to look for a new career opportunity, a new career move. So how should one start that process? Where do they begin? What should they be looking for? Any advice on that?
So I'm one who thinks you should always be looking. Not that you're always taking a new job or always moving, but know what's out there and know how your skill set fits. University of Kansas has a weekly, monthly, I'm not sure, I'm actually not actively engaged in it right now, but they send out an email blast, and it's called Greener Grass, which I find kind of amusing because the grass is not always greener. But it lets you know kind of what positions are out there, what's available, what the requirements are. And I think whatever your field is, whatever your interests are, just be cognizant of what the trends are looking like, what changes are happening, so that you can keep yourself competitive. And I think it's important to be competitive in your own current position, as well as giving yourself options, looking outside. So I would always be trying to keep your ears, you know, in tune to what's happening in the field that you're working in or interested in entering. Keep your resume up to date. So those are good things to remind yourself, all right, what have I accomplished? What can I add? What do I need to think about learning, so that you're being very deliberate about what kind of educational opportunities you're pursuing, either directly aligned to your current job or that's applicable to a potential promotion or other work within an area you might be interested in.
Your question presupposes that you've talked with your employer, you know, you've maybe exhausted all avenues within your company. I would make sure that there aren't opportunities within the firm that you're in if you feel like you've hit a dead end or you feel like there's certain challenges. You know, sometimes in business we find out this person's leaving and we had no idea this person was leaving because, you know, we didn't have maybe a strong enough relationship with them. So I would encourage you maybe first of all to make sure you've weighed that out, that you've also explored those opportunities within the company, and maybe even had that conversation, you know, with your superior or your boss. You know, obviously, working your own network is huge. If you really are starting to look, or you feel like there's an opportunity out there that you'd like to pursue, work your own network first. Work your own network of contacts. You guys are probably all a lot more savvy on this than I am with LinkedIn and social media and things like that. But most jobs aren't posted, even though there's tons of job postings out there today. Most jobs aren't posted. And if you have good connections, work those connections. Brian, if you want to work with Brian's company, don't with Brian. Brian, who do you know, or who are you connected with on LinkedIn that could make a warm introduction to Brian? Things like that. Certainly you could come to QPS Employment Group to help you. We could do a confidential search for you. Shameless plug, but it is an option. So I think, and the other thing is, you know, just really be clear as to what you want. And I've said this a couple times already. Be really clear as to what you want in your career, in your next role. And honestly, I've interviewed lots of people in my 30-plus year career, And I asked them, what are your must-haves in this role? Why are you here? And honestly, I don't get a very good answer most of the time. So just be really clear about that before you step out and make your next move.
Yeah, Jeff and Lori gave great advice. I probably don't have a lot to add to that. I would just just recommend that you deploy patience in that process. You know, a lot of times I think we're in a hurry to do things. Something happened at work, I need to make a change, but patience is key. Patience in finding out what your values and what your real passions are. Are you really working in the area, striving to work in areas that you really love? I mean, we spend over 60% of our lives in our jobs.
That's right.
Like, let's enjoy this, the people we're around, those sorts of things. And then just a reminder, I guess, because I see in my experiences hiring and leading in different aspects, you know, for me it comes, I think it says on the sheet, help, gratitude, mindset. Make sure you're still helping and contributing in the role that you currently have. Make sure you're still grateful and connected to that community and being grateful to the people around you in that role, even though you're looking to leave. And the last, that mindset piece, the worst is when you're that guy, that woman that is just negative person ever at work. When you're, you know, this place is the worst. So maintain a positive mindset and be patient, I would say.
Awesome. So we're getting ready to transition to Q&A. Final question I have for you all. So what advice would you give your younger self? You can go however far back you want to go.
How much time do we have?
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
You know, I think for me, I would probably collaborate more. You know, when I was a younger professional, I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to prove to myself, and I wanted to prove to others around me that I could do it. And it actually worked pretty well. But again, you've asked for advice, so I think I probably could have got farther, faster, quicker, you know, collaborating more. I'd probably, you know, I came from the green industry, so grass is always greener. You know, I worked a ton of Saturdays. I probably worked, you know, 3/4 of the Saturdays for 25 years. Spent a lot of time away from family and friends. I did it for a reason, but you know, if I had to do it all over again, I would work less. So, you know, one of the things I tried to learn here lately is, you know, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's really what I'm trying to do more of today. That would be the advice I wish I would have known back then that I know now.
Yeah, for me, probably a few things. Number one is follow, you know, from a young age, we all have passions, excitements. You know, get deep into those. I wish I would have trusted that feeling more younger. Number two, you know, this business about the 5 people you spend the most time with, or sort of who you become. Like, there were some people I probably should have cut out along the way. Not cut out completely, but just make sure who's around you and what things are influencing you. And I think the last thing, so many of us, me especially when I was young and even now, you know, there are moments that we're afraid to fail. And there's plenty of books and people out there saying it, but truly, truly fail faster. Just take action toward whatever it is you want and fail as fast as you possibly can, and you'll get there. So that would be the advice I want. And I'm not sure I would have listened to any of that advice.
Right, yeah, that's the trick, right? So I resemble much of what I've heard. And then on a highly personal level, you know, I would have asked for help more. And I had this thought that I really had to do it myself. And that really is a factor in all facets of my life. And I realize now people are willing and able and want to help, and they're just waiting for you to ask. And I never, or not early enough, gave myself permission to ask for help when I really needed it. And, you know, that would have been a lifesaver in the beginning and along the way. So.
Awesome. So I'm going to transition it over to you all to be the moderators for this season. For those joining us online, again, you have an opportunity to submit your questions via your comment section if you're watching us on Facebook.
Who knew?
One of the biggest ones I'm facing right now is, transitioning to a new position. How do you have that conversation with your significant other if you have a significant other? Because it's, you had said that you want to get right with yourself, you want to get right with your family, but you know that those relationships matter and how you're going to work in that new place. So it sounds like a very personal question because it is a very personal question. How does that conversation even start, or how do you get there so that you don't make a move that you regret later on?
So, if I may begin, I asked my 15-year-old son for permission, basically. I asked him if he would be okay with me applying for the Beloit City Manager job. And I asked him first because, from my perspective,
It was going to
have the biggest impact on him.
He was going to have to change high schools. And there are a lot of things my children may blame me for later in life. I did not want that to be one of them. I really wanted to know if he was okay with the idea or the concept even, without even knowing if I would get an offer. So I had the conversation with my spouse, and then for me, it was really knowing, is he okay with this right now? And because in my situation, we had moved a lot already. So it wasn't the first time we had done that. But I think especially in talking about working it through with your spouse, it needs, for me, it needs to be something that the whole family is on board with, because it's not easy. If you're moving locations, or if your job requirements are changing substantially, or your schedule's changing substantially, it really has to be something that everybody can support and be on board with to make it work. That's been my experience. And I've done it where it didn't work and it was not a good choice. And then the majority of time it was. So I can say from experience, you really have to do that up front. And if it sounds like this is not the time, for whatever reason, for your family to make that decision, I would suggest you don't do it.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think what you are saying is that it starts with just honesty, and doing the best thing is always the right thing. Sometimes I think what you're getting at is that, you're trying to be the best version of you. And if you're not the best version of you, you're also, in your job, you're also not the best version of you at home. And I believe that. And sometimes then you get into the conversation of, you got to make a leap that maybe offers you less money, but you're more happiness, you're in the best version of you, but you're planting long-term seeds. No decision is short-term, or should be short-term in that case. So those are tough things, right? If you get down to your family's going to change because you're going to make less money, or you're going to have to move, or whatever these things are, but it still gets back to who you are and what the best version of you is, so that you can be that in front of every part of your life.
There's a hand in the back. Yes.
So I know Jeff had mentioned must-haves a number of times. So I was going to ask, what are some of your must-haves? Your looking at your options, or just do the work, I guess.
I'll take that first. So for me, when I left my last job and I have this current job, I really looked at culture of the company. I looked at the industry to see if was this a growing industry. I didn't want to make a move at age 50 into an industry that was declining. So I did a lot of research, right, on the industry that I wanted to move into. I did a lot of research on the company. I talked to my inner circle about what they felt, what their knowledge base was of this potential change. I looked at the role itself and how did I align with it. And then lastly, I looked at, did it really advance my career in the way that I wanted to? So those, for me, those were the must-haves, and those are the things that I researched before I took a leap of faith. And I just wanted to go back for a second to that gentleman's question. No matter what you do, in having that honest conversation. You know, if you do move forward with this role, nothing's forever. Nothing's forever. If you feel like you take this role and things don't work out, you can do something different. So don't feel like you're making a decision forever, because things are going to change for you. That's just the way of the world. So.
For me, and I work for elected officials, right? So very different dynamic. I worked for an 18-member board in Peoria, and realized early on that that political environment didn't provide me with the opportunity to make the kinds of changes that I thought were necessary in the organization. So a must-have for me is knowing that the role that I'm going to be in, and I've certainly discovered that here in Beloit, and part of why I think it's such a great fit, is having the capacity to make changes that I think are required within, whether that's your direct workplace or workplace. You know, for me, it's the entire organization, and that was really critical. I needed to know that I was going to be in a culture and an environment that would embrace the opportunity to do things a little differently when we needed to. And the other piece I've needed is a must-have for me is flexibility. I put in a ridiculous number of hours also, but I'll also go on an afternoon on a field trip when I can. I can't always, but I try to do what I can, and those kinds of things. I also will routinely bring my children to events in the community, and it's a great way to show them what I do and have them understand what that is. And it's also just a great way to kind of combine those responsibilities, if you will. So.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No. I majored in, so my third try at college, I ended up with an English degree just to get out. And 3 years at the work at a pharmaceutical company, I went back at night to get a teaching certificate, and I did that for 14 years as a school administrator and educator. And then I took a real leap into what I do now. Along the way, I have an educational master's or something. And again, it gets back to, it gets back to, which you don't use. You do use it, the critical thinking, the people skills. But it gets back to what I said earlier. When you come through a hiring round, and I'm sure Jeff and Lori can talk about this, you become so aware that it's just not about all of that. It's about, just the person in front of you. Can you work with them? Can you spend 64% of your life with them? Do they have the capacity? Do they have the relational skill set? Are they good around people? Because we can train them to do anything. University in that certainly has its place. It's an important structure in our country. But no, I don't apply it in my job. I do apply the soft skills, maybe.
Sure.
No is the answer. I went to school, I got my degree in forestry administration and business administration. So you could say, yeah, I'm using the business aspect. I spent 30 plus years in what I would call the green industry, landscaping, growing trees, flowers, and all that kind of stuff. But it's really the business aspects that I try to apply. And really looking at my education, I graduated a long time ago, but my education continues today. And my advice for everybody here, including the panelists, continue to be a lifelong learner. There are abundant opportunities to learn. There's, I forget, 8 million podcasts out there, something like that. 250 million different blogs on various subjects. The information and education is unprecedented. So if you want to get better at customer service, you want to get better at finance, you want to get better at sales, you want to get better at investing, you want to get better at working for a nonprofit, whatever it is, if you're not getting that development at work, you need to own your own development. You should always own your own personal and professional development. So I would just encourage you, if you're not already doing those things, to continue to do them, as well as some formal educational opportunities that are out there with our universities and community colleges.
Great advice.
Yeah. So I'm probably in the minority in the entire workforce. So I do use my degree. The master's degree in public administration was specifically geared towards training city managers. So I knew kind of early on that that's really, really what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I took a number of different kinds of roles in a progressively responsible way to get to the point where I am, which I love, and I want to be here for a very, very long time. But I also think about, if I wasn't doing this work, what would I do? And I would love to write. I would love to do, a number of different things that I hope in my lifetime I have an opportunity to try out. So I think really I'm much more the minority as far as following that formal education path and having it connect directly. I think that's less common now.
Real quick, I would piggyback on Jeff's response. In your current role, it's so important to learn everything you can. So real estate, I study the different markets in Rock County, the little niches, the inventories, the national news on it, the local market news, how we can run our business. Every day learning something in those categories is so important. So lifelong learning is a great answer.
No matter what you do.
Cool. Other questions? We'll start. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Questions about mentorship, and so thinking about perspectives through your career that you've had relationships that were valuable, mentorship or sponsorship relationships, and then now, the relationships that you have with future professionals. What are some of the things you've learned, or what are the things that help foster those relationships and make those
For me, I don't know that I can point to any one specific person that was a mentor per se. I had a couple of really good bosses early on that I tried to learn from. I really tried to pick up things from everybody that I worked with, colleagues, other people that I worked with, supervisors, bosses, even if it was just one little thing. I used to share a sales office with another guy. We were literally this close to each other, and he was much more experienced than I was, so I would listen to him on the phone. I was like, man, that's really a cool way of saying that, So he wasn't my formal mentor, but I tried to pick up things from him just in everyday life. So I really think that for me, there wasn't any one person, but I do have an inner circle of about 3 or 4 guys that I meet with now, as I've kind of developed that as I've gotten older, that I can talk to and bounce ideas off of and talk about business issues and business problems. So there's any one thing per se, but that's kind of how I.
But we're all up here because of people that we're standing on the shoulders of, and
Absolutely.
Throughout our lives. I think one of the most recent mentors I had, Dorothy Kaufman, what I took from her is, every interaction she ever had when I watched her, she came from a place of empathy and compassion and help. And one of our core values at Property Revival Realty is, how can we help? And if you lead every interaction with that in a mentor situation, so saying the question, how can we help, and then closing your mouth and using your ears, that's your value to people in that silence, in that moment, if you can listen. And sometimes you're not the one that can help them, but you can, help introduce them.
Point the way,
So I think it's just the help piece.
We've just reinstituted an internship program, and so it gives students, both a high school student and a college student, an opportunity to come into the office, kind of see what we do, and to work in that environment. So I hope that I'm providing an opportunity for them in a sort of a mentorship role, more of a, hopefully being a role model on the best days. But what's interesting is that I'm learning from them too. And I'm being reminded of things that I frankly had forgotten, and really a perspective that because I've been in the business for a while, I start to see things out of one point of view. And it's been really refreshing to have a different way of looking at things and a different perspective. So I'm learning from them also. But there are a number of people that I've worked for in my career that have just helped me learn, given me the ability to be more bold than I was maybe going to be on my own. Those relationships are really critical, and people that you trust and can reach out to give you advice or to lean on a little bit. I think that's really important.
Perfect. We'll take the last two, Amy and then Morgan.
About how easy your knowledge degree. I have about
I get back to your passions. It doesn't have to be in that field. And to whatever those passions are that you have, whatever makes you excited, it exists, especially now. You can do that. And whatever that is, work as hard as you can on it. You've got time to fail and to try things, and just do that. Just work hard at whatever that is that you love to do. And the job is out there.
Yeah, companies are looking for talent, so you'll have an abundance of opportunities. Get your resume put together, make sure it's in a results-oriented fashion. Work your network of colleagues, friends, relatives, to make the right connections for you. Set up your Indeed alerts, set up your LinkedIn alerts, things like that. Use your keywords, all of those types of things. But companies are looking for talent, so basically it's just a matter of getting started. Once you get that first opportunity, then go from there.
And just remember, the likelihood of that first job that you get being the last job that you'll have is pretty low. And so just make it the best that you can. And even if you get into a situation at any point in your career and you're thinking, wow, this is not what I expected, this is not quite the fit, what can you learn from that while you're in it? Because once you have an opportunity to look back, it won't be nearly as bad as you think it is at the moment. And really just embrace each of those situations as, okay, I have to be learning something here. And maybe it's learning what you don't want to do in your next job, or learning how you don't want to supervise someone, but take those opportunities to flip it into, how can I make that better? How can I use that information to make me a better person, make me a better employee, make me a stronger candidate next time, because you do have time. And so I'm sure that you'll have multiple opportunities, and then just learn as much as you can from it and enjoy it while you're fresh and new, and enjoy every minute of it that you can.
Jeff taught me something at lunch that I didn't know.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, it relates to this. It's the start writing down.
Well, your accomplishments, yeah.
Well, no, what you're
Oh.
afraid of.
Oh,
What is
sure,
it
right,
that you're
yeah,
afraid
yeah.
of?
Oh,
yeah.
And when you read that list, you might realize that there's not much worth being afraid of on that list. Just go for it. So thank you.
That's great advice.
All right, one final question. I want to have something that they really just need to get answered fast.
So kind of a two-part question. No one can implement lots of guys to make it free. As it relates to the young professionals, millennials, the next generations that are coming into the workforce, there's a lot of negative stereotypes surrounding millennials and how we interact with the workforce. What do you think our strongest characteristics are from the stereotypes? And then how do you see the rising professionals or the wider network for Wisconsin kind of moving us into the next couple of years?
I'm so excited about the millennials. Some of the news headlines I know are shifting now, but it's just a load of lies. Like, if you rewind me back to that age,
Right.
like we had all the same entitlement and all this stuff, right? I could just look around my inner circle with lazy and all these things. So the last 9 months, year now, studying that, because we were going to hire, that we hired 3 people in that, ended up being in that age division. I'm excited because I interviewed and talked to 100 or more people looking for jobs that were millennials. And I'll tell you what, they care about, Jeff talked earlier about culture. That was the number one question we had when you say, okay, your turn to ask questions. What's it like to work here? They want to know that they can feel connected to the people in that environment. And the second thing that they would ask, the second most popular question, was how do you connect to and engage with your community? What do you give back? What programs do you have in volunteering? Like, if we're anchoring on corporate culture in our communities, making them better, we're in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think that sense of purpose, and I think that's a huge asset. And so I think that piece is particularly in the public sector, where everything we do is for the public benefit. And it's been hard to attract people to the public sector in the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years especially. And so I think there's a lot of good fit into how we can create purpose for people in this age range. And so I find that very exciting because we need new, skilled, and adaptable employees. So I think that's wonderful.
Well, the millennials are the largest workforce generation now. Us baby boomers are retiring, so companies that embrace the millennials are going to succeed and achieve, and those that don't are going to go by the wayside. And part of our role as leaders is being able to work with all different types of generations, right? So be adaptable. Find those companies that your mission aligns with their mission as closely as you can, and I think you'll have an abundance of opportunity moving forward.
Thank you all so much. Can we please give our panelists another round of applause?
Woo-hoo! It's over. Excellent job. Excellent job, Lori.
So I recognize that we all may have different journeys and different stories, and we may be at different points in our career. And so hopefully from what you've heard today, there's hopefully a nugget that you can take with you, adapt and modify based on your current situation. So thank you all so much for being here. Real quick, so we still have a whole week left of events that are taking place. Tomorrow we will be at Snapper Stadium for a baseball game, so you can join us at 6:30. At the registration table in the back, we have a sort of an attendance postcard of sorts. So when you come to 4 more events for YP Week, we will be raffling off a giveaway basket. So be sure to grab that. Be sure when you come in, checking at the front table for registration, that we kind of mark that off for you, and then turn it in at the end of the week. So we have a gift basket. Don't really know what's in it, but it's going to be $100 worth of stuff. It's going to be really exciting and really cool. We're going to get that all set up. So please connect with us. Can I have the board members from the Rising Professionals kind of raise their hands so we kind of know who we all are? So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about the Rising Professionals, these are the folks to talk to. We would certainly love to connect with you. And we look forward to seeing you for the rest of the week. All right, thank you.
Woo-hoo. Good job.
Can you get the